Hello, this is Heather Hoffman, and today I'm sharing a video with you on using fun die cuts and Pinkfresh Studio's liquid watercolors to create these simple but colorful cards. We're going to be watercoloring on the die cut pieces. So I'm starting off with Dainty blossoms and leafy wreaths, and I'm die cutting them from sturdy watercolor cardstock. And then to watercolor these, what I've done is I have just a sheet of white printer paper, and I've slid it into a sleeve protector. This kind of provides a surface that I can clean off easily, and I don't have to worry about staining or anything like that. And it was an easy, inexpensive way to create a good surface for this. I'm using a mix of different colors of Pinkfresh's liquid watercolors. I'm mixing mostly on this one with the leaf. This is using the Leafy Wreaths die cut. And I used both the main die, and then I also used the center to cut it out so I get the wreath all the way around. And I'm mixing some yellows, some greens, and a little dab of a deep blue on there as well, and a little bit of sky blue. And I'm just kind of mixing the colors on there. I'm starting soft and kind of watering the colors down a little bit as I go. And then once I've done that, I cleaned off the back a little bit. Then I came in with a little bit more concentrated color just to deepen those shades a little bit. It's kind of fun how the liquid watercolors that you can just kind of keep building the colors how you want, and just by layering on a little more at a time you can get the depth of color you want. They're super concentrated, so a little bit goes a very long ways. And now that I've finished that one, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the die cuts I did with Dainty blossoms. I die cut several of the little pieces, and I'm going to use those same yellow and green and blue shades that I have, but I'm also adding in pretty much the whole range of the yellows, orange, pinks, red, purples as well. These colors, again, are so vibrant and so pretty. And I'm using, as you can see there, I'm using lots of clean water on each one, and then just dipping a teensy tiny bit of color as I go on. And I'm really just randomly adding my color on there. I'm not using it super heavy, and I'm not trying to fully cover the die cuts. What I'm trying to do is, as I put my first wash of color on and then add the other colors, I'm letting the moisture that's on there kind of blend the colors on their own. That way you get kind of a little bit of variation in color, but without sharp lines or anything. And it's okay if there's a little bit of white space. You could also die cut or watercolor panels before you did the die cuts, but I love how the color kind of mixes and pools into the areas where the die cut pieces are. You may have noticed on these I also didn't punch out all of the details because the watercolor cardstock's nice and thick and heavy. It'll kind of hold those in there fairly well. Some of them popped out, some of them didn't, and I just kind of let the ones that come out, and left the other ones in. I thought it just added some fun dimension and texture, having some of those spaces open and some of them still filled in, but with the texture. So it almost looks a little bit like an embossed texture on there. And I'm keeping a baby wipe there that I can just, in between each color, I can quickly clean that little surface area I have. Now that I have all these watercolored, I want to add a good heavy dose of some gold splatters over the top. This will help add texture and shine. I'm using my Starry Colors palette and kind of the platinum color in the middle. And I'm being super duper generous. I'm just adding water to get enough liquid in there to be able to splatter, and I'm just heavily coating those. I use just a piece of white paper on there. It's hard to see, but it adds lots of sparkle and shine in real life. Now we're going to add our sentiments, and for this I'm using the new Essentials release, the fancy label frames. I'm using 2 different sizes and adding sentiments from Just a Little Lovely and Heart and Soul, so kind of a newer and an older set. And I'm going to heat emboss those. I've already die cut those frames from black cardstock, and then I'm heat embossing my sentiments on each of them just with white embossing powder. It helps them pop, especially with all the beautiful colors from the liquid watercolors that we're going to have on these cards. The black just provides kind of a bold base. Now that small frame, you might notice to protect my fingers a little bit, I'm holding it with some tweezers just because it's such a small piece. I didn't want to get the heat gun too close to my fingers and burn myself. The larger one, I wasn't as worried about that, so not as big of a problem. So we're going to pop, first of all, I'm going to layer up those florals. I kind of planned where I wanted to put, and I'm just tucking them all in so that they go behind that frame. And I picked it all up with a little bit of press and seal saran wrap. That's kind of a Jennifer McGuire trick that I love to use. Once I got the arrangement I was happy with, then I could turn it over, apply my adhesive to kind of hold everything in place, and then I'm also adding foam adhesive over the back of that frame to pop it up. And then just to hold those florals in place, they're so small I didn't want to fiddle with foam adhesive or anything little, so I'm just adding a few little dots of liquid glue on kind of some key points, some of the larger areas of the flowers. That way as I press it down, it'll hold it in place, but it'll still leave some of it free floating to kind of give that loose and airy feel so you get some texture on there. And with the frame popped up on foam adhesive, and if there's a little spot that you notice just isn't sticking down as much as you want, you can tack a little more adhesive down there later and it's not a problem either. Now the leafy wreaths, once the watercolor dried, I went ahead and went around with my fingers to pull up each of those little leaves. It just contributes to the dimension on that. You can leave them flat, but it's so fun just to bend them up a little bit with your fingers. And then I was trying to pick where to put my frame sentiment on that one, and I finally decided to offset it a little and just kind of pop it down on the side. Now at this point I decided it needed a little more sparkle, so I pulled out the new Essentials Jewels mix, and I'm just using the white jewels. I could have mixed and matched different colors to blend in, but the white is such a perfect neutral and just kind of went with everything, and it adds the perfect amount of sparkle on each of these. And once I get those all glued down there, I'm using liquid adhesive. It's an easy way to adhere them in place and make sure they're going to hold in place where you want and stay nice and strong and sturdy. So this first one uses a rainbow of different colors. You can see that dimension there in that photo a little, how the leaves kind of and the flowers curl up a little bit. And then on the wreath one as well, the second photo here will show kind of how those leaves bend up add to the dimension without making it a super thick and heavy card either. Thanks so much for coming by today. I'd love to hear what your favorites are, and I hope you give this technique a try. Have a wonderful day.